Okay, Happy New Year. So, on this first Whiteboard Wednesday of the new year, I thought I would share something that I reflected on a little bit during the holidays, which is like, what is my job as a founder, and what do I think are the unique jobs of a founder of a company, right? And this is of any variety, whether it's consumer or SaaS, it doesn't actually matter. Um, but like, what are the things that the founder can uniquely do uh, that is hard to replicate in other roles? And so, if you're a founder listening to this, I hope you take a moment to consider a few of these things. So, the first thing that I think that a founder can uniquely do is like motivate the team in a way in which is different than other people. And the reason is that they have one thing that other people don't have, which is the founding story. And this is something that like Toby at Shopify will talk about a lot. It just, you get to use the founding story as a way to drive energy into the business and to motivate people and to say like, hey, here's like this thing that we thought of that other people did not believe in, and like now here we are. And it's very motivational to think about, wait a second, there's this idea that nobody even believed in, and now we are, here we are, and now we're like building this thing together, and that's very motivational, and I think that's a unique thing that a founder can do. The second one, which sort of I think about a lot, is injecting risk into the business to drive high asymmetry from an outcome standpoint. And this one is something that I thought about because over the holidays, there was this whole thing around a few startups sadly going under, one of which the founder, it sounds like, was asked to leave, and then they hired an outside CEO to run the company, which may have been the right thing to do for the company. But for sure, what a hired CEO will have a much harder time doing is injecting more risk into the business than the founder otherwise would have. And again, you can say that's good or bad, but in a lot of situations, when you're trying to drive extraordinarily high upside, the ability to drive risk into the business, the founder has an unusual ability where people would be willing to get behind taking high risk and high asymmetry bets in order to make the business a very large business. And so the way I think about this risk is basically like, how do I drive the most asymmetry in the business? And what are things that I'm comfortable with? Like, for example, only a founder would be comfortable with like, hey, I'm just going to take whatever is my current business, and I'm willing to lose all of it if we move to this other thing, right? So Reed Hastings famously at Netflix said, hey, the DVD business, I'm willing to let it crumble as long as we move to streaming. And so those types of things are very hard for not the founder to do, right? Because they just don't have the permission to do that. And then the last thing is actually to push the insight that you had as the founder that made you think to start the company into the business, the partners, the customers. What I would like, this basically shows up as evangelism, or like being sort of like the head marketer of the company or the head storyteller of the company. And really, this is more about like, your company is a way for you to drive the outcome that you believe should be true in the future. And you started the company because you believed that there was a way to actually get to that outcome. And so sharing that insight as broadly as you can is a job that the founder can do more effectively than others. And again, generally, if the founder's not doing it, then it just like ends up becoming part of the regular marketing machinery, which is fine and could work, but it carries much more weight when the founder is pushing the message. And so, like, Steve Jobs, the most stereotypical example of this, would like tell stories about how Apple is doing things to reimagine how like people interact with their world, right? And he was able to tell that story, and Apple was just the vehicle through which that story was told. Elon Musk is exceptional at this. We're going to occupy Mars, and SpaceX just happens to be the way that we're going to do it. or Tesla is like the way that we're going to like bring electrification forward. But there's of course like examples in the more sort of like smaller and medium-sized businesses where people are doing the same thing. In the D2C world, like most commonly, the reason why a lot of people are now running founder ads is actually for this exact reason, right? Like a founder ad is a way for you to share your insight with the world, or for you to share your story with the world. And those things matter because those things are the way that you connect with the problem very personally, and therefore other people connect along with you to that problem. So yeah, so hopefully, this is something you can think about as you're setting up your 2025 goals. What are the unique things that you can do as a founder, and how do you actually sort of leverage the things that you can uniquely do relative to things that your team could do instead? All right, I'll see you on the next one.